to an episode of Conscious Straight Talk with Katie and Lindsey.
Hi, my name is Katie Hutchinson, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm also a certified mediator.
And I'm Lindsey Kearns. I'm the mama behind MalibuMamaLoves.com, and I'm also a certified conscious trauma-informed life coach. Today, we're going to be talking about something that is so underreported. It's crazy. And it is something that I know we all see when we're out and about, but then we don't really want to talk about it or wonder what the level is. But that's parent abuse. This is abuse from a child to a parent violence. And this is a form of domestic violence that we do need to talk about. A lot of people experience this.
It's crazy because I've actually started writing a book on parent abuse, and I'm always saying to my clients, oh, those are just your kids abusing you. It's just the usual. It's just parent abuse. I didn't actually think that when I went to look up this subject that there would actually be some information, and there was very little research. However, there was a definition in Wikipedia, and I did find some information. And it turns out that it's just like she said, it's kids abusing their parents in various ways, and we will tell you the various ways.
So definitively, it is a parent abuse is any harmful act of a teenager, even a preteen, because it can start, 10, 11, 12 years old, child intending to gain power or control over that parent. The abuse can be physical, psychological, financial,
emotional.
Everything.
Yep.
So I have heard a lot about this. I know you were saying you didn't expect there to be a lot of stuff online, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of research online, but there are a lot of stories.
They're
out there. Some from the extreme.
So I see this within my family. I see this in my own daily life with myself, with my children, and how they treat me versus my new husband. And I see this all the time with clients. And I'm always saying, oh, just kids abusing their parents. It's just parent abuse. It's just parent abuse. No big deal, just parent abuse.
But sometimes it's not just parent abuse. And it's so bad.
No, it is so bad. And I've experienced so bad. And yet I can look at it now and I can laugh, but it's painful. Okay, so usually this occurs between about 12 to 17 years of age, but I've seen it at 8 years. I have a 10-year-old that does it to me now. So, it's a lot.
It's hard. So since you've experienced it, Katie, what are the effects of it as a mother, like for yourself? How did that make you feel?
Oh my gosh. Well, I still go through it. Shame. I just feel like a crap mom. Like, what is the matter with me? Guilt. Why can't I control my kids? I see other moms.
Yeah, you internalize that. You think that this is something I'm doing wrong, that I'm making my kid this way. When the reality is there's probably some form of chemical imbalance going on in there, hormonal imbalance going on there for sure, that isn't even about you.
And I'm a people pleaser, and I'm not great with consequences. So I'm not perfect. Okay. There's fear, like, oh my gosh, what if they do this in public? I'm going to be so embarrassed. There's, let's see, there's also hopelessness. Why aren't my kids loving like everybody else's kids? Being abused by your children has such profound effects on the adults.
Absolutely. Because a lot of times the parent that's being abused, the other parent is also abusing them. So they're getting it from a few places, because this is a lot of times this is learned behavior for them. They see their whatever parent that they love and have that unconditional love with being treated like garbage by somebody else. They say, hey, I can too.
Right. And so I'll tell you a story. After my divorce, I was living in a hotel. I told you guys this story many episodes ago of what I went through. And my son was 10 at the time, and my son wanted something from In-N-Out Burger. So he said he wanted no tomatoes on his hamburger. So I go and I pick up the hamburger with no tomatoes, blah, blah, blah. Come back, give him his hamburger. My dad was there. Other family members were there. And we're
you're in a hotel. So
and I'm in a small, it's a hotel room. So it's small. And I hand the hamburger to my son, and he opens it up and he sees that there's a tomato. He flips out. He throws the burger at me. He starts taking the table and turning it over, throwing chairs, screaming profanities, yelling. And I'm just looking at my dad going, well, what do? You do something. He's looking at me going, I don't know. This is craziness. I don't know what to do. What do you do? We're just both staring at each other, just watching him have a complete meltdown over some tomatoes. But
Yeah.
clearly it wasn't
It
tomatoes.
wasn't about that.
It was the divorce. Yes.
Yeah. And that's so hard to go through.
Mhm.
And that you're already carrying the shame that divorce brings.
Yeah, gosh.
Then you have to watch the effects of it on your child and your child acting out. It's tough,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. So it can come from many different things. So the child can
It
have,
can,
yeah, the child can have mental health issues like bipolar disorder, major depressive disorder, anxiety disorders, even
at-
psychosis.
At such a young age, it's hard to identify
It
that.
is.
So you don't know what's going
It
on.
is, and they don't know how to form the words to tell
Right.
you, right?
And so you're internalizing this and thinking, watching your child go through this craziness, thinking, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? I'm doing
Mhm.
something wrong.
Yeah, as women, I feel like we mostly blame ourselves. But anyways, hanging out with other kids that are mean to their parents. I remember
Mhm.
that I had a friend and she would scream and yell at her parents in front of me. And this is in like our early 20s. And I just remember being so embarrassed. Like, oh my gosh, this is so uncomfortable. And I don't even want to be around her.
Yeah.
Using drugs and alcohol, that can make kids a little bit more aggressive.
We also need to mention domestic violence.
Oh, yeah.
Because if there is already abuse going on in the house, this is a really quick way that kids can learn to abuse the
parent.
person that is being abused
Yep,
already.
They go
jump
right
on
along.
board.
Yep, that's very true. And I think I say that again. So if I say it again, just ignore me. Divorce, like I said before.
Mhm.
Usually this is happening to single parents, single moms.
I wouldn't say usually.
Really?
Because there's a lot of families that stay together that experience this. Actually, a lot of the kids that I've read, the parents are still together. And I always think, I'm like, oh, that whichever parent the child is being horrible to, there must be, that poor person must be getting it really bad. from
Well, you know
everybody in
what?
the house.
The research that I've done says differently, so they better be doing some more research.
Well, for your book, yeah, because it's so underreported, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm going off of all the stories that I've read,
Right.
not like research or
Oh,
anything.
I've experienced it.
Yeah.
So it's possible that they've had attachment difficulties, like
Mhm.
what I was talking about the other day
Mhm.
with my mom, where she was never properly attached to her dad because he didn't want a child.
Yeah.
That can occur, and then they take it out on the parent that loves them unconditionally.
Right.
Being bullied at school
Mhm.
is one of them. The child having issues with friends, social issues, academic issues, and then they take it out on the person that they know is going to love them unconditionally.
Yeah.
Us.
Yeah, I know a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes when they're being bullied in school and they're not communicating that, they come home and bully the parent.
Yep.
And
I
that's also a sign when your child is doing that, like, hey, something's really
I
going
know.
on.
Talk to the teacher, find out what's going on at school. Witnessing domestic violence, which we
yep.
talked about, gang affiliations, lack of consequences, and the list goes on and on and
yes,
on.
parent. Yes, darling. What was it? Veruca Salt.
Oh, yes. I want that now.
Yes. Okay, darling. I'll get it for you
get
right
it
away.
for us now. Okay. So
It all makes sense, you
Mhm.
know. A child can be abusive to a parent because of abuse. There's so many elements out there. It has to be talked about.
Mhm.
We have to discuss it. We even see it when we're out with other mom friends or other families, and you see that child acting up, and you think, oh my gosh, but the mom is too scared to talk about it.
I know.
And that's why, and it's very brave of you to get up here and say, hey, I've experienced this. Like,
I'm an open book.
you're not alone out there.
Yeah, you know, it exists in the U.S. and all around the world, but we have no idea how much it exists because
Yeah.
people don't want to talk
They
about
don't-
it
yeah.
because of the shame and because of the lack of research. And that's why I'm writing this book. It's so important because it's underreported, it's underdiscussed,
But we want to
et
talk
cetera,
about
et cetera. But we want to talk about it.
it. So I do have a question. Okay. With domestic violence, and you and I have shared stuff about this before, we can call the police, right? I know it's scary and it's hard to do, but when you have a child abusing you, they're under 18. What can the police do?
They can come and talk to the children and scare the children, hopefully. I'm sure that they can put them on a 5150 hold, which is only a 72-hour hold where they're assessed. There is that possibility. They could also take them to juvenile hall, I guess.
I think you only go to juvenile hall, right, though, if you've been committed of something. So if they have a felony offense or a
threatening
misdemeanor.
to stab you and stuff, I think they might. I'm not positive, but I'll tell you a financial abuse situation that occurred with my sister.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing. It wasn't funny at the time, but now it's funny looking back. My sister and her husband were having some difficulties, and I'm sure the kids were picking up on this because kids are smart little fritters. And so her very, very bright child figured out a way to break into the computer and break some code. He's like a computer genius. And figure out the credit card numbers. And he ordered 10 Mac computers. And all of a sudden at my sister's door, she receives 10 computers. And she's like, what is going on? So she called the police. And the police came and said, we don't steal our parents' credit cards. We don't do this. We don't order things without our parents. She was able to return the computers, and we look back and we laugh at it. We think it's funny. It did scare my sister's son, and he never did it again. I will say that. So it depends on their reactions.
Well, I'll tell you, so a little bit more of an extreme case.
Yes.
I actually had a friend who did this, and I always wanted to do this, but I never had the situation arise with my children to do it, but I loved this. I had a friend back east who, her child was a nightmare.
Yep.
I mean, I loved the child. I loved her, but she was feisty, right? So the kid had a fit. She had bruises on her legs because he had been kicking her. And she said, that's it. I'm taking you to the police station. And she put the kid in the car. She drove to the police station, walked up to the counter. She said, excuse me, I need to speak to Officer Poncherelli right now. Now, if you remember, Officer Poncherelli was from Chips.
No, I don't. It was who's Poncherelli? Yeah, I know Chips. Yes.
It was Officer Poncherelli.
Okay.
So the woman behind the thing was like, oh, okay, something's happening. Like,
So
she knew because she
Okay.
saw the kid.
Yeah.
So she got this massively big police officer to come out.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm Officer Poncherelli. And he put the fear of God into that kid. And he took him back to the jail cell. And he said, this is where you go if you hit people. This is what you do. You do not put your hands on anyone else, especially a woman. Like, walked him through the whole thing, left. Kid never
Never
acted
did
up
that
again. But I thought it was such a great, I need Officer Poncherelli right now.
Yes,
I feel like
yes.
every police station should know if a parent walks in and
says
says
I
that.
need Poncherelli, what the police needs to do.
So, I mean, it can be helpful. It's just, how much courage do you have? And, it's
How
you've
much
got to
shame
do
do you
these
have?
things. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I bet there are so many different factors, and we've talked about some of them, why this disorder is underreported.
Yeah.
Parents feel shame and they're embarrassed. Also, some parents are afraid that their kids will become more enraged and they're afraid of their actions. I had one client, and I said to this client, you know what? Take all the knives, if you have, God forbid, you have any guns or anything in the house, everything needs to come out of the house, and you need to put a new lock on your door. And every night before you go to bed, you lock your door, you double lock it. And she had to do this to keep herself safe, to feel safe.
It's scary. So, do we know about how many parents are affected by this?
We don't, because, like I said, it's under-researched
underreported.
and underreported. And that's why I'm researching and reporting on it and writing a book on
And
it.
I feel like people don't say anything. When we're out and about, you see something happening, a kid really acting up, you do what we're saying. Oh, it's just parenting. Oh, but the reality is it's not. It
I
shouldn't
stick
be
up
that
for the
way.
parent.
These
I
kids
stick up for the
need
parent
to learn.
when I'm out in public.
So what are the different types of abuse, Katie?
Okay, so there's physical, and we all know what this is. This is hitting and kicking and all of that. It's scratching, pulling hair, whatever. My son did this to me a lot after our divorce.
You needed Officer Poncherelli.
I needed Officer Poncherelli. Although I had a big nanny. Well, she was bigger than I was, so that was helpful. Verbal, they'll yell profanities at you, and you're just sitting there going, what do I do about this? I don't want to yell profanities back, because then I'm showing them that profanities is okay. So where do I go from here? Psychological, they scare you. Like, if you don't get me this, or if you don't do this, then I'm going to go live with dad. Or I'm going to go live with mom, or whatever.
If you don't buy me this, I'm going to kill myself.
Oh my gosh.
If you don't do this and make me this food right now, I'm going to go crash your car.
Yes. And it's scary as a parent.
But they mean it.
Scary.
We're saying it sarcastically.
I know,
They mean
but
it.
it's scary.
Yeah.
Emotional. I hate you. I don't love you anymore. I never loved you.
Nobody likes you.
That's right.
Everybody's
and
out there
mean
talking
things.
about you.
Yeah, mean things like, what are you wearing, mom or dad?
Yeah.
Like, especially to the moms.
Your house is so awful. Why do we have to stay here?
Gross. gross.
So dirty.
Ew, your outfit's disgusting.
Yeah, but they say it meanly.
Yes.
Like they mean it.
Yes. And then financial. So that's stealing money, credit cards. I gave you an example. And I want to give you another example. And this was very disturbing to me, even at this age. I was about 13 years old, and I had this dear friend of mine who's now not a dear friend of mine. And she had a father that was dying of a brain tumor, and he had like a morphine drip, and he was just out of it. And she would go into her parents' room and steal money. And I remember her telling me, and I remember being 13 years old and just being like, this is so gross. Like, what is she doing? But not having the words to say, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Just when you're growing up, your environment around you is the normal.
Yeah.
So you don't know. It may feel wrong to you, but you don't know how to say that to somebody at that age.
No, it felt so wrong. You know? I was horrified.
So real quick before we let you guys go, Katie, what are some tips that we can do if we recognize parent abuse happening?
Okay. So most importantly, well, awareness, as always. It's always
talking about it.
Awareness. We need to acknowledge it. We need to talk about it. Yeah, talk about it to somebody that you feel safe with. I tell her about it if it happens. We need to seek psychotherapy to discuss the matter. Try to work with the parent and the child together, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just have to work with the child alone and get that trust, and work with the parent alone and get them to hold up some boundaries. And then eventually you can bring the family together.
It sounds like a lot of reframing needs to be done.
A lot. You need to really help the parent not overreact. So this is something I will tell you, I try really hard to not overreact. Sometimes I lose it and I say, mommy's going to lose it. And then I go into my room and they're pounding on the door and like pushing me or whatever. And I lock myself in my room until they calm down. So it's really, really important for the parent to not start screaming and yelling things, because that's only going to escalate the situation. Right. So important. Call the cops if you're scared of your children. Call them. You need to have a paper trail.
Or go to the police station and find Officer Poncherelli.
Exactly. Or even go to the fire station. They're probably good with that. Show the children that this is real. Actually stick with your consequences. Come up with your boundaries and be strong with them, because they are going to torment you. They're going to walk all over you. And in the beginning, so let's say I take away my child's phone because my child's been bad, the norm, right? What happens in the beginning is something called an extinction burst. And that means that because the child is not used to you being tough, they're going to act even worse. So instead of 1 hour of tantruming, they're going to spend 3 hours tantruming. Yeah. And you have to put up with it. And you have to understand this is an extinction burst, and they're going to keep doing this and pushing and pushing and pushing until they give up.
Well, not even give up, but until they recognize that your boundaries are firm. Your boundaries, you've got to have those boundaries. So, all right, you guys, it's we're going to leave it there today. Yes. And we will see you. Oh gosh, are we going to come on Monday and 4th of July?
I don't know.
Let's do a little 4th of July party.
Are we going to? I don't know. We're going to, we plan on it.
But we hope you guys have a safe holiday weekend. Enjoy those barbecues. Enjoy your family.
Yes.
We'd love to hear your stories. Click like. Look us up. We want to
hear
from
us about
you guys.
Your stories. Have you experienced this?
And share with us
if you have. Okay.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.